Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me on the show. We'll look back over those Scottish Cup semi-finals. Give us your thoughts. You can hit the like button, you can hit the follow button and share the stream on our Facebook page. We'd love you to do that. Tell your friends about the programme, and also on YouTube. If you hit the red subscribe button, you can join the football family as we look over today's main headlines and discuss, of course, Wednesday coming up, a full card of Scottish Premiership fixtures as the season draws to a close. Only 2 matches left to look forward to in the Scottish Premiership, but more than a few playoffs and more than a few topics to discuss on the programme. First and foremost, getting over the line, Roughie, I don't think too many of us got it wrong as far as the predictions for the Scottish Cup final. Hibs and St Johnstone will contest it.
Yeah, I think on paper, I think the two of them were possibly the better side. I think St Mirren will be kicking themselves with some of the chances that they missed. But you have to give credit to the goalkeeper for the saves making them. But it was a game that could have went either way. But no, I think the final will be excellent. I think both teams will have a go at each other. I think it'll be quite entertaining. It's just unfortunate, again, there's not going to be any fans at it.
Yeah, what a weekend it's been, Tam, for the High Bees. Josh Doig, Scottish Football Writers Young Player of the Year, and suddenly the young man with his teammates now looking forward to the Scottish Cup final. Did you think they were well worthy of it in the end?
Yeah, I did, Peter. Listen, I was extremely confident that Hibs would beat Dundee United. I've seen them playing against them 3 times this season, and Hibs are a better team. And on the day, it was as comfortable a semi-final as I've seen in a while. I didn't feel at any point that Dundee United were going to threaten Hibs. I think Hibs were excellent on the day, defended well, took their chances, and deservedly into the final. Got a little bit of luck with the Doidge goal. Yeah, I think he's clearly offside. But then I think 10 minutes later, if the referee plays a proper advantage, Hibs score, and Boyle gets brought down and Doidge puts it in the net. So a little bit of swings and roundabouts, but Hibs thoroughly deserved it. Josh Doig again was excellent. Congratulations to that young man who's been outstanding this season. He's played most of the games for Hibs, and he could end up in his first real professional season finishing third in a Scottish Cup medal. So he's got so much to look forward to, that young kid, and so is the rest of the whole team. So can't wait for the final. I was wanting St Mirren to win yesterday, to be honest. I'd have fancied Hibs more against St Mirren because Hibs have struggled against St Johnstone this season. And I think the first goal in the final, Roughie says he thinks it'll be entertaining. I don't. I think the first goal in that game's huge. If St Johnstone get it, I would really, really fear for Hibs breaking them down.
Yeah, interesting time for the Hibs fans. They would have loved to have been there at Hampden for the big occasion. But of course, for the players, Jack Ross has just set it up all nicely. A wee bit of history beckons.
This competition's special to me. I grew up with it being a big deal. I'm a football fan, a football lover, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to leading Hibs out here. And I know the history of the club in this tournament, and for us to, our players have got a chance to put themselves into the fabric of the club, and they passed another test in that regard today, and really excited about a fortnight's time.
Yeah, Scottish Cup wins, it's like buses, you wait such a long time, Ali, and then there's a chance of 2 coming along in the space of 5 years. An incredible feat. I mean, I think Hibs were red hot favourites. Dundee United didn't really, watching the game, Alison, I didn't feel any great threat for Hibs with United.
No, I only saw the highlights back. I was up at Kelty on Saturday and I watched the highlights back, and I agree with Tam. I thought the Hibs' second goal was well offside, but from what I've seen, it seemed like a fairly dominant performance. I didn't think Dundee United offered any significant threat up front. I thought it was fairly straightforward for them in the end. I thought it could probably have been a bit more convincing.
Yeah, of course, the one thing that disappointed the Dundee United manager, Mickey Mellon, was just his group of players maybe weren't as experienced enough to handle certain moments in the game.
Well, you're always disappointed. It's a semi-final at the end of the day, and we just feel we didn't quite look as streetwise or as used to these kind of occasions as Hibs did, so every credit to them for that. But we'll learn from today and fight hard to get these opportunities again and try and be better.
Yeah, it wasn't until the latter stages, Roughie, where there was just maybe the odd chance here and there. But other than that, I think it'll be I think the players, sometimes you always say, don't leave the pitch without absolutely giving absolutely everything. I think some players might feel disappointed.
I think they will be disappointed. There's nothing worse than losing in a semi-final. The final you can deal with, but not getting to the final is even harder. Yeah. But as you probably know, I don't want to be can't remember what the word I'm trying to use here, but Dundee United aren't one of my favourite teams, as you know, because they put us at the cup. So that offside goal just hit it in the head for me. And I jumped out my couch as soon as I seen it was at least 3 yards offside, because they weren't complaining when the boy Clark pushed the young boy into the goalkeeper in the last round. So swings and roundabouts.
Bitter, that's the word. Bitter,
that's the word I'm looking for.
Never forgets.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. Because not only has he's now got one chip on each shoulder now. He's honestly, he's got an elephant memory. He just never ever forgets anything that annoys him. Ronnie Chapman threw up a big question before we talk about the other semi-final. Obviously, I don't know if you picked up on it, Tam, but Ronnie Chapman says, was Ali up there partying with the number 6? Were you up there with Barry? Were you giving him any of your sycophantic chat? Oh, well done. I thought you could make it. I always knew you'd make it.
It was too grim for that. I don't know if you've ever been to Kelty, but it was like walking into deepest, darkest November at the weekend. It was misty, freezing. It was raining. We were soaked. The rain coming in the laptop screen, the rain soaking the phone screens as we were doing interviews. No, it was quick and cursory and back to the car to write stuff up because it was so cold.
Yeah, we'd been to Kelty, Roughie, that we did not have that memory, did we?
That was summer just coming through at Kelty. Well, they could.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, you must have got a smile out of Barry, did you?
Be stretching it. I think he was pleased, but it was quite funny to observe, even just to watch him from a distance, still kicking every ball.
Oh, yeah, he does that. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Anyway, well done to Kelty. Whether they can make that next step, only time will tell. There's lots of playoff matches with everything at stake. That's what I like about the end of season. There are so many matches that mean something. The way, we're hypercritical of the SPFL on many an occasion, but that is one thing that really has worked out really well when you get to the tail end of the season with these games and the excitement for the fans, albeit they're watching it on streams or on television. The other one, the Battle of the Saints, Tam, I don't think any of us were surprised. I thought St Johnstone were magnificent. I thought they played some lovely football.
Yeah, listen, St Johnstone are in the final and probably deserved it, but St Mirren will be cursing missed chances. I mean, Lee Irwin should score in the first half. I know it's rough. It's a good save for the goalkeeper, but he should be scoring. And then the substitute is Colin Quaynor that come on, missed 2 great chances. One, I don't know what he's done. He's just got to put it in the net and he hits it by the post and then the header. So St Mirren had lots of chances, and against St Johnstone, I've seen them all season. You've got to take them because they're a threat at the other end and they're particularly solid at the back. So if they get the first goal and you need to chase it against St Johnstone, it's very, very difficult. So St Mirren will be cursing missed opportunities. I thought they matched St Johnstone on the day, but St Johnstone were more ruthless. Great finish from Kane and then great free kick from Middleton. Goalkeeper, I think, is maybe a bit suspect. I think he slips. And 2-0, you think game over. But St Mirren get one back with a wee rally at the end. But St Johnstone v Hibs it is in the final, and I think it'll be a cracking game. You've got Hibs going for the Scottish Cup. You know how much it means to them, and Callum Davison going for 2 trophies in the same season. So all sets up for a really, really great game.
Yeah, St Johnstone boss just almost pinching himself. Can't believe it. What an achievement. 2 trophies possibly in the same season.
I haven't really thought about it. Honestly, this week's been pretty stressful. So I haven't really thought about the achievement. For me, it's more about a club like St Johnstone to get to 2 finals in one season. That's an amazing achievement. You've got other teams that have done that, but a club like St Johnstone to get there it's a tremendous achievement. It's all credit to the players, really. They go about their business. They're a great bunch of lads to work with, and they kind of follow orders and they kind of try and do the right thing, and they got on with it, and they got on great.
I'm not saying we vehemently disagree with each other, Roughie, but Tam's assessment of St Mirren and St Johnstone and mine is that I thought St Johnstone I just thought they looked at it better, more clinical, yes, in front of goal, but I thought they played the better football and looked as if, apart from obviously the stone waller that Erwin should have scored, it was and the save produced, but I just thought they had better chances and looked like that always the team that was going to win.
Yeah, I think the point that Tam's trying to make is the first goal is always important in a semi-final. If you get that first goal and Erwin puts that in, you've got to expect the St Mirren players to be high, and then the St Johnstone players have got to deal with it, but it never happened. And you're right, after that miss, St Johnstone did look strong. They looked strong at the back, they looked strong in midfield. Kane, who I think has been a good servant to them, come up with a goal. And I think once they got the goal, they were the dominant force, as you would expect, and they went on. And as Tam said, the free kick was absolutely fantastic. But really impressed with some of the St Johnstone boys. Have really matured. We had the boy Callum Booth at Thistle. He's a different player now.
He was
looks
excellent.
A lot more. Yeah, he looks up and down the park, when we had him. But he looks as if he's went to a different level. I was impressed with him. And wee-boy McCann was absolutely superb as well. So, no, I think once they got the goal, they were the dominant force, and I don't think they were ever going to lose the game.
I don't think too many people would be surprised if somebody came in for Rooney, Alison. Every time I see him, not only does he look like the big foraging right back, but he cut in at one point and just curled a left foot shot that looked as if it was bound for the roof of the net. It was just it was absolutely class the way he tried to execute it. Others would go to the edge of the box and try and thunder one in, but, he had the presence of mind to think, I'll just try and place this.
I think it's an interesting point you make. I've seen St Johnstone a few times this season, and almost every game that I've watched them, Sean Rooney has been integral to how they've played and the goals that they've created. He's really caught my eye every time that I've seen them this season. And Ali McCann's another one. I think he's a young player who I would expect there might be quite a bit of interest in this summer. I think Celtic have been linked with him. I think they've watched him a few times. And this is the next challenge, I think, for Callum Davidson. When you have a season like the one they're enjoying just now, then there's always the danger that people come in and cherry pick just who your best players are. I thought Glenn Middleton, I think too, he took his free kick particularly well. Obviously he might go back to Rangers this summer, but he's really benefited from being in that environment since January and getting a bit of game time laterally and just I think being around a squad like that where there's so much confidence. That's what really struck me about the performance yesterday. It was the sense of assurance that you got from St Johnstone, the calmness that seemed to be there. And I think Callum Davidson's quite a calm manager. I think so much is coming from the dugout and from the way he's guided them through this term.
I'll tell you one thing, Tam. Footballers at the best of times, everybody just thinks, they turn up, they don't work at their craft. Some people, you can be highly critical of them. The boy Glenn Middleton, I don't know if you spotted the way he hit the free kick. It's clearly something he's practiced on a regular basis because it's that free kick where they take the ball with their instep so that it will go up and over the wall, but it really starts to dip at the tail end. It was first class the way he executed it.
I thought he was excellent when he came on. I thought he was a real bright spark. Obviously, he scored the winner against Hibs a couple of weeks ago, and he played well that day as well. But I agree with Ali. He's getting game time at St Johnstone, and he's taking advantage of it. It was a great strike. As you said, the way he hit it, he dipped it and he got it over the wall. Not sure about the goalkeeper. I thought it wasn't in the corner. Put it that way, it was kind of in the middle of the goal. So I think the goalkeeper will not want to see that again. But great strike, and he ran the ball into the corners. He was taking people on. Thought he was excellent when he came on. And St Johnstone have got a really, really strong squad. Guys are bringing off the bench, Stevie May, O'Halloran, guys like that. They're good players. And I said, Callum Davidson's built a really, really strong squad, a real pool of 18 to 20 players that can come in and not look out of place. So they've had a great season, St Johnstone. They really have.
Young Jamie McCarthy actually had a really good season too, just worth a mention. I think another young defender, I think he's been quite impressive. I've seen him a number of times. Again, think quite assured, quite calm on the ball, quite composed on the ball. They've got a pretty young team. You know, they've got the spine of a fairly young team. So I think if you're a St Johnstone fan just now, it's exciting. Like, you look at them and you think, if you can keep them together, what do they do next season?
Yeah, well, if all the highs are on and all the plaudits are going St Johnstone's way, commiserations to St Mirren. There was a moment just in the last couple of minutes of the game where I saw Jim Goodwin with his head really facing downwards, and you could tell he was absolutely gutted at St Mirren not really being able to produce what he wanted from them. But on reflection, I think he's looking back on St Mirren's season as a positive one.
I think it's been a relatively good season. 4 years ago, I think the club were, celebrating winning the championship, and there was thousands lining the streets in Paisley. I think we've took the club to the next level now. I think this season, I think that group of players in there and my staff have took the club to a different level now. We're not contemplating going back down to the championship. Next season, we've got to rebuild again in the summer.
Yeah, I think he deserves great credit, Roughie, because he's changed the attitude around St Mirren and his stock has increased.
Well, we played them in the League Cup at the beginning of the season. It was one each after, I think, 75 minutes. We had a couple of chances. We could have won the game, but in the end, they won it. And right after that night, I said to myself that this is going to be a relegation season for St Mirren. They just didn't look strong at all. But all fairness to the manager, he's built on that early part of the season. He's brought a lot of young players in. He obviously brought a lot of players in as well, that he's identified that would help the team. And they do look a strong team. They look a strong team, particularly at the back, with experience, with Shaughnessy and Tate. And the young boys in the midfield are good. I know what you're meaning, his head's going down, because for the fans and the club, you want to end in a cup final. And as I said earlier, they could have took their chances. He'll be saying to himself, God, if we'd have taken our chances, we could have been in that final. And that'll be the disappointing thing about it. But, he has made them a better team. And I'm sure everybody behind the scenes at St Mirren will see the good work he's doing behind the scenes as well.
I know you're going to say that Hibs are going to win it, Tam. Roughie will probably say the same. But with this final, I just don't know. This one, I'm going to wait to see who's all available as we get ever closer to it, Tam, because St Johnstone, I just get a feeling about them. I don't know what it is. I'm still edging towards Hibs, but St Johnstone this season, with the players, as you said, they've got, this one's not easy to call, is it?
No, it's not. I had a look at the bookies' odds. I think the bookies have got them both at even money. So there's no favourite. It's a 50-50 game. It's all about on the day who turns up. I think Hibs have beat St Johnstone once this season. There's been a draw, and St Johnstone have beat Hibs twice. So St Johnstone have just edged it in the head-to-head. And, it's a very, very difficult game to call. Obviously, I'm desperate for Hibs to win it. Do I think they will? I think they will win it. I hope so. But it's a difficult one, as you said, because St Johnstone are a strong side. The first goal, I think, in that game in a couple of weeks' time is going to be enormous, because if Hibs get it and St Johnstone need to come out and attack Hibs and get back into the game, Hibs can then go and pick them off. But if St Johnstone get it, Hibs have showed this season they can't break them down. St Johnstone have beat them twice, 1-0, scored in the first half, and just Hibs have been unable to break them down. So I think the first goal in the final is huge.
Andrew Breslin has just sent us a wee message. Peter Martin, I'll tell you now, Hibs will win it. Ronnie Porter says Hibs will beat St Johnstone. It's all about opinions, to be perfectly honest with you. If Hibs win it, it'll be great. If St Johnstone win it, equally so. It's a good cup final to look forward to. Certainly looking forward to it. And we'll be on air beforehand to bring you the preview as well. So hopefully you'll join us on PLZ Soccer. And then once we're finished, then you can go and listen to Tam ranting on about Hibs reserves, Hibs potential youngsters coming through, and then, of course, the cup final with Hibs winning it. There you are. I've summed up your entire broadcast in 35 seconds. But anyway, listen, Alison, more often than not, if you criticise, as a journalist, if you criticise Celtic or Rangers and they don't like it, you can get banned. That has happened before down through the years, Alison. I wonder if many people will be criticising Celtic next season if Conor McGregor gets some shares in the club, because then you won't get banned. He'll just come out and leather you. It's as simple as that.
That was just one of those odd stories today, wasn't it? You have a read at it and you're thinking, where did that come from? Yeah, I'd be sceptical about that one, I have to say. But yeah, I think in terms of in terms of keeping the criticism at bay, it's maybe not the worst of tactics, and certainly more palatable than banning people.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, Alison, I'm hearing the cock crow 3 times there because, to be perfectly honest with you, let's not diss a good journalistic tale because he does have quotes next to it saying that he has spoken to Dermot, so fair play to the journal who broke it.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next. I think Dermot Desmond is holding tight to the shares that he's got. I don't see anyone else being able to usurp the level of control that he has at the club. I don't think there's any indication that he would be prepared to loosen the grip that he has.
Yeah, it was an interesting tale anyway. One of those little bright moments when you're reading a paper and you think, oh, that's caught my eye. Conor McGregor, no less, Roughie. The one thing that I think a number of Celtic fans are looking at and thinking to themselves, well, we've had a statement that said absolutely nothing, and now there's a couple of games just to limp towards the end of the season, Roughie.
Yeah, I think we've all sort of persuaded ourselves that the reason that the manager isn't in, he wants a clean slate. He doesn't want anything hanging on the past. Whoever it is that comes in will want to rebuild for the future. And I
wonder who said that, Roughie, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody quite near, actually. But no, and you can imagine why that would be. You know, that if you're coming in, you know, nobody can bring up anything for the past year or anything that you've been associated with at the end of the season. So, no, I think it's a good move for Celtic if they've got their man. If they're sitting there with their man all wrapped up, I'm sure the Celtic supporters will be more than happy.
Yeah.
But if it comes out that there isn't anybody and he knocks it back or whatever, it's an explosion time.
Okay, let me explain something
to you. I'm sure the Celtic supporters will be hoping.
Let me explain something to you. And Alison is well aware of this because of calls that are constantly made. In this game, Alison, if someone hasn't got their man and they're searching other men out to try and offer them the job, there is always a leak somewhere. There's always someone who will play off the name of Celtic coming in for them. And if Eddie Howe wasn't in the bag, you would have a situation where suddenly another agent would say, Celtic have approached our manager about blah, blah, blah. And there is nothing like that going on.
It's the way it always works. There's always a trickle of information. There's always a scent of something that comes out. Like you, I think maybe the club just want to get to the end of the campaign, be done with what's been a forgettable and chaotic season and give someone a fresh slate. I think there's a lot of work to be done this summer. There's not a huge amount of time before the European qualifiers get underway, and I think given the magnitude of the job that lies ahead for everyone to come in, I think I can understand why people have been clamouring for an immediate appointment and to see that things are moving in a direction that they wish to be going in. But I think maybe it's just been a case of respecting other things that are going on round about it. There might be other contractual elements in the background of it, and then I think it gives them the opportunity to come in and start afresh. I think we all appreciate that there'll be a number of players who will leave, and I think the same amount who'll come in now.
Yeah, one of them, of course, the rumours never go away, Tam. Brendan Rodgers, the hot tip to come in and nick Edouard for whatever price that Celtic can get.
Yeah, I think he's been linked a long time with Edouard and Callum McGregor. And I watched Leicester the other day there against Newcastle. They were dreadful. Jamie Vardy's not been good at all this season. So I think they're maybe looking to phase him out and bring a younger striker in. And I think Edouard ticks a lot of boxes. You know, he's young, he's hungry, he's talented. Brendan knows what he's like off the pitch, and that wouldn't surprise me. Iheanacho and Edouard would be some strike force in that league. So I don't know what the fee's going to be, whether Celtic can hold out for. I think Edouard's not a great season, to be honest. So I think his stock's maybe dropped a little bit. So it could be anything between 15, 20 million. I think that Celtic would take it. Player clearly wants to leave, so you take as much as you can, and you wish him well. You thank him for his service, and I think Brendan would definitely take him at Leicester.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't mentioned that fee, because that will now prompt another 20 to 30 messages that I have to skip through, Tam. I usually try and read as many as I can while we're doing the show of Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. But as soon as you mention a fee, you have conflicting views from all corners of Glasgow and beyond. Barry Grant, for instance, has offered an assessment of Eddie Howe if he comes in. It's fairly short and to the point, Barry. I'm not sure if he's a prophet or indeed it's just an opinion. He says Eddie Howe will be a disaster, full stop. So there you are. That's the joy. That's the joy of our
Welcome
country.
to Glasgow.
Who knows? Yes, welcome to Glasgow. And if it is Eddie Howe, boy, is he in for a rude awakening, Roughie.
Yeah, I think he'll be phoning around a few people to find out what he is getting himself into, because it's certainly much, much bigger than Bournemouth. There's no doubt about that. And it'll be exciting, the same as Steven Gerrard has found, that if you're a successful big team, that is exciting with the crowd, being the manager of a crowd for 50, 60,000 and everything else that goes with it. It'll be an amazing buzz for him from moving from Bournemouth to Celtic and everything that goes with it. And I think you would look forward to that if you're a manager who wants to progress in his career.
Yeah, I think Steven Gerrard has handled the switch to Glasgow fairly well, Tam. I mean, I don't think there's been any kind of a real moment of him either being out anywhere, getting hassle. He probably goes back down to Liverpool, to where he lives and the majority of his family are. I don't see any real... He's handled anything, with, ease in my mind, because, he doesn't seem to be the type of guy who's going to go out anyway in the town or go to a pub, put it that way.
Yeah, listen, I think the Glasgow and Liverpool are very similar cities. They're football crazy. There's two big teams, obviously Liverpool and Everton, and Celtic and Rangers here. So I think he's used to the limelight. He's used to going out and about and maybe getting asked for photographs or autographs, or maybe getting the odd shout, positive shout, negative shout from one side or the other. But as you said, there's not been any hassle, nothing in the papers about Gerrard being out or been drunk or any kind of hassle in the town centre. He's kept himself to himself. Obviously, he's clever, and he's probably went back down the road, as you said, at weekends when he's had days off. But I think he's embraced the whole Glasgow thing, the whole Celtic and Rangers atmosphere up here. And as I said, he's eventually, 3 years down the line, he's done the business. So I'm sure that he'll be looking to take Rangers on to the next level, and he's probably enjoying his stay up in Glasgow.
And by doing the business, obviously Rangers fans cannot celebrate as Rangers prepare to play Aberdeen in the final game of the season. The trophy will be presented on that day, but some Rangers fans have obviously tried to organise something which I think would be to their detriment, because Police Scotland have warned Rangers supporters not to gather at Ibrox or any other location ahead of the club's trophy day this weekend. This has just come out, the Light Blues. Obviously, most of the fans are talking about a title day march scheduled to leave the Ibrox Stadium and then make its way to George Square. But basically the police have just said this is there's going to be an appropriate policing plan in place, and urged the fans to do the right thing by not gathering. They've been told. It's as simple as that. I have tremendous sympathy for the Rangers fans on this one, Alison, but that's the word from the police.
Have sympathy for all fans in the current climate who have missed big moments. You could have Hibs and St Johnstone in a Scottish Cup final, and even if there are a few hundred allowed in or whatever, it's never going to be what it would have been in normal circumstances, and it's painful for clubs and it's painful for fans. But I think what you need is to have a level of common sense and a level of respect for what we've all gone through as a society over the last 14 or 15 months. And I think too, the clubs here, that Rangers have a duty now to come out to and echo the message from the police and sympathise with their support. And if there is an opportunity further down the line mark the occasion in some way, but I think they have to also come out and echo the message from the police that it's not safe for large crowds to congregate. And I have the utmost sympathy, like you. It's very frustrating, I think, to miss out on the joy of what's been achieved, and I'm sure that so many of them would have given their right arm to be in the stadium to see the trophy being presented. But I think we have to adhere to where we are. We're very tentatively coming out of an enormously difficult period in the chapter of not only in the culture that we live in, but in the chapter of football and all the difficulties that clubs have faced this season to keep the campaign going on. So we want to keep coming out. We want to get back as quickly as possible to a point where we can have significant numbers back in stadiums, and we want to do it safely and we want to do it sensibly. So I think the message is you listen to what's been said, you take the advice on board, and the club come out and also just emphasise that point.
Well, on that point, they've had the chance before, Roughie. The club were criticised the last time for not utilising the players and the manager and everybody to get that message out on a regular basis prior to, situations where the fans actually congregated not only at Ibrox but at George Square. So this is second time around, and I think that's maybe the police coming in with an early salvo just to try and throw the gauntlet down to Rangers to come back out and reiterate the need not to go near the stadium, and quite a few messages is what I think the Police Scotland will be expecting from the Rangers camp. But, Kevin says, do you think the Rangers fans will listen to you, Peter? Well, I don't think they'll listen to me or Alison or anybody else who makes a plea this week, Roughie.
Yeah, I think the police have done the right thing. They've thrown it back at Rangers. It's their responsibility to deal with their supporters. And Alison's right. There must be another date in the calendar where you just open the gates and you let 60,000 supporters coming in, not 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. You just open the day, you have an open day with the players and the cup, and you just celebrate with all the fans. That's a simple way to do it. And I'm sure the fans would appreciate if they had to wait maybe 3 or 4 weeks for that to happen. But at least they know it's in the calendar. They know the day that it's going to happen, and they can celebrate as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the top end of the table. Tam, at the bottom end of the table, Wednesday night is not only squeaky bum time, it's actually bite your nails to the quick. And it's the classic, what I call the Sky Sports cameraman has got a vital job to do at these times when there are fans in, because usually what happens is the Sky Sports director turns around and says, can you focus on that grown man crying because his team have been relegated? And there's his son by his side sobbing his eyes out, or their daughter, and they're all crying because their team's been relegated. At times I feel that is heartbreaking, but thankfully they'll be spared that on Wednesday. They'll have to greet in their own houses if it doesn't go according to plan.
Yeah, listen, it's an enormous couple of games left for those 3 clubs at the bottom. Ross County v Hamilton, massive game. Hamilton have to take something out of it, I think, to keep their relegation hopes alive. I think if they win the game, it could be a great last day. I mean, there could be 1 point between them all if Kilmarnock win as well. So I think Hamilton need to get something to keep themselves alive. Kilmarnock, I think they need to win as well. And Ross County will know if they win, they're basically safe. So listen, I've been down there myself, and I've played in these types of games many times for Dundee and Dunfermline, and I know how nerve-wracking it can be for the players. So it's just who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to be great to watch for us fans, and not really for the fans watching in the house. It'll be horrendous to watch. They'll be kicking every ball, but we'll just have to wait and see. But Hamilton need to get something, I think, to take it down to the last day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kilmarnock is second bottom, and Tommy Wright has just basically thrown down the gauntlet to his players. Jobs are on the line.
We're not having crisis meetings and talking about relegation all the time, but they're all sensible enough and switched on enough to know that there will be job cuts. People will lose their jobs. That's normal when a team gets relegated. So they're aware of that. But what we have tried to do is, obviously, I'm aware of it, but I try to keep that, banked away
Wow, how can you keep it banked away? If you talk about players this year, of all years, Roughie, and people in general losing their jobs, footballers no different to the economic situation. And of course, when you get to a situation where you are facing relegation and you know you're going to have to be looking for a job this summer, that's pressure, Roughie.
It's a massive fallout. It's a massive fallout and a massive responsibility on the players to make sure it doesn't happen, because Tommy Wright's perfectly correct there. Budgets get halved in two. Players' wages drop dramatically. The income of the club is so low, it's unbelievable compared to the Premiership. So there's a lot of things hinging on it, and the worst thing about the lot is, as Tommy Wright discussed there, it's people losing their jobs through no fault of their own, because they're not on the park. They can't decide what's happening on that, but they're the ones who eventually lose their jobs. So it's a whole package at a football club when something like that happens, and you have to be very, very strong to get through it. And I think we all know, maybe Ross County and Kilmarnock have got financial clout behind them as well. But Hamilton have already said, look, if we get in the division, we'll just carry on the way they will carry on. And they've said that on numerous occasions, and I think they will. So I think it's Kilmarnock and Ross County, if they were to drop down, are the ones that are going to suffer the most.
Yeah, try and get your predictions in early, guys. I don't want any jiggery-pokery for Wednesday, because with 2 sets of predictions left, this is going down to the wire. It really is about, in their head-to-head this season, it's the most exciting finish ever. And it's really about dipping your head at the tape, Tam. And I don't want anybody cheating, Roughie doing his spread betting, or you moaning your little face off that you've been denied some point somewhere along the line. Get them in early so that there's no cheating and nobody casting aspersions on another player in this one. Kilmarnock at St Mirren at Rugby Park is going to be tough to call. And the only real game in town, Tam, if you're a proper journalist, you head to Dingwall, where it's Ross County against Hamilton. Yep. That's all I'm saying to you, Tam. I'm phoning Johnny Foxes to see if they're opening up for the night. I'm heading up there. I'm going to see if it's all buzzing. I'm going to go up there and see Ross County Hamilton, because that is the game of the night.
Yeah, listen, it's a 6-pointer. As we said, it's just huge for both clubs. Hamilton, I feel as if, obviously, they're 2 points behind Kilmarnock and 3 behind Ross County. I feel as if they need to get at least a draw to try and keep it going to the last game, because I think Hamilton play Kilmarnock in the last game of the season, which could be massive. I mean, that could be a relegation decider. So Hamilton need to take something out of the game, and we'll wait and see if they can do that. But it'll be a great game, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. An absolute humdinger on Wednesday. Roughie, I'm looking at this ongoing battle with the Colts. Certainly a lot of the Lowland League, a lot of the other leagues, East, West and South of Scotland, are unhappy. And there's a great line. 3 leagues in Scotland, 6th tier, say the plans have no sporting integrity. Now that the Lowland League is discussing having Celtic and Rangers in the Lowland League, their Colt sides. Now, need I remind you, Roughie, there is no sporting integrity in football in this country. They're all a bunch of charlatans and backstabbers. Is that fair?
Don't get Roughie started now.
No, I said to you on Friday night, the crucial word in this is it's going to go to a vote. And we all know what happens when it goes to a vote. The people, as you say, have their own agendas. And I said that was going to happen. I think a lot of the people in the lower leagues think that, why should we look after Rangers and Celtic? Why should we look after the young players coming through for Rangers and Celtic, who are eventually going to, if they're good enough, be in the first team? And what are we getting out of it? I don't think a lot of them are buying into the financial side. That a lot of them are ambitious enough, they want to move up the leagues. That's the thing I can't understand. If there's no promotion, I don't see what the problem is. There must be something else in that package that we don't know about, that a lot of them are unhappy about. Yeah, but
money, Peter.
It's not particularly. Well, they're not getting money out if they're saying no, Tam. If they're saying no, we don't want you.
They're only getting 3 or 4 grand, I think, a team. I was actually speaking to someone last night who's involved at East Kilbride, and I know there's a meeting tonight between the Lowland League teams and Celtic and Rangers. And the crux of the matter is, I feel, is that the money that Celtic and Rangers have offered, 25 grand each or something like that, divided by what, 16 teams. It's ridiculous. If you're going to have to give them, I think, 15, 20 grand ahead to try and get them round the table to say yes, because the money they've offered now is nowhere near good enough. Actually, there's no real advantage. Well, no, Colts, I'll beat you start. If definitely it could be.
Callum Reynolds has just said, he sent us a message. He says, imagine you managed a single show without saying there's no sporting integrity in Scottish football. Yes, imagine that, Callum. Imagine everybody started to think about the collective and how they could better the game without their own individual agenda, Callum. Do you think we made it up, Callum? This is the way they conduct themselves, Callum. That's why we're talking about it. It's only the last year and beyond that it really came to the fore and come to the fore again as we head towards the end of this season. No lessons have been learned, Alison. They're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, indeed. To go back to the point about the Colts, I can see the attraction for Celtic and Rangers. I can see why there's an appeal there. I think the opportunity to expose young players to competitive first-team football would enhance their development significantly. We all know that there's no reserve league anymore than the way it is, but I agree with Tam. I think the figures that have been suggested are fairly paltry. There's no real incentive for other clubs to go for it. They're not getting enough out of it. And you're right, people will vote on self-interest, and in some ways, I think you have to respect it. In some ways, I think you have to look after the needs and the financial needs of your own club rather than looking at it as a whole. But from the point of view, if you're wanting to get the best out of young players, I think we have to look at some kind of structure that gives them regular football, because at the minute, what's happening is they're progressing to a certain level and then there's too big a gulf between first-team football and youth football, and they're not bridging it successfully enough just now. I think they need to be playing more.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but then I'm sure the argument from other clubs is, well, why can't we have the Aberdeen Colts and the Hearts and the Hibs Colts in as well? Or why can't we, in the middle of a point, just sneeze uncontrollably and then hope nobody hears it? That's another thing. Thanks to, are you okay, Tam? Yeah. Thanks to Callum for that point. Callum, I hope one day we are indeed talking about the positivity of people actually thinking about each other in Scottish football. But I understand where you're coming from, Callum. Ronnie Chapman makes a very, very good point. He says, Peter, how does Tam manage to get every game going, no matter where it's played on this planet? But he can't get through an hour on your programme without his Wi-Fi messing up. You know, it's amazing, Ronnie. You're absolutely right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way he pushes the satellite dish around on the top of his van outside his house in East Kilbride. But you're absolutely right.
I'm sitting right next to it, Peter. I'm sitting right next to him. I even moved my wee box right next to me.
Did you? That's good. Hey, listen, I've got to ask you, Tam. What about Wraith Rovers? Dunfermline, down and out.
Aye.
Good win for John McGlynn's side.
Yeah, it was, Peter. I wanted Dunfermline to win because I'm one of my old teams, and I've got a lot of time for Stevie Crawford. But I think over the two legs, I think Wraith Rovers are more ruthless. I think that Jerry McDonald had a number of saves that kept Wraith Rovers in the game, and Wraith Rovers now set up a cracker against Dundee. We know, speaking to Charlie Adam, I think that Dundee would go into it as slight favourites only because they've been rested up and they're in better form, I think, than Wraith. But that'll be another two great games. But I think it'll be very, very difficult for Wraith Rovers to beat Dundee over two legs and then beat the likes of Ross County or maybe Kilmarnock over two legs. So it's going to be a big ask for Wraith Rovers, but I think the pressure's off them. I don't think anybody expected Wraith Rovers this season to be where they are. I think you'd expected the likes of Inverness and Dundee and Dunfermline. Don't disrespect bigger clubs to be in there and bigger budgets, and Wraith Rovers have done a brilliant job, John McGlynn. And I think they go into Dundee game with a lot less pressure on their shoulders, and that could maybe make the wee difference. But I still fancy Dundee to get through.
Yeah, I mean, it's great now, Roughie, because this is what we wanted. I mean, Dundee, at the end of the season, suddenly you get this cutthroat. I mean, I want Dundee to win. We're slightly biased because even if Charlie wasn't playing for them, Roughie, I think they're a big club, and I'd love to see them. If we are going to lose one of the clubs at the bottom end of the Premier League, I think Dundee will bring something to the party.
I think Dundee bring more to the party than the three clubs that we're talking about. I know Kilmarnock on a good run, could get a few supporters in, but the other two are pretty basic in their crowds, whether they're doing well or not, with the size of their stadium. Dundee gives you another derby game, which we all like derbies, and that is a big one up in Dundee. So no, I think Dundee, that are the club that I think most of the people, if they were taking a choice who they'd want to go up, it would be Dundee.
Yeah, I've got to say congratulations to Robbie Nielsen, who wins Championship Manager of the Month for April. They were unbeaten, 5 clean sheets, 13 goals, and of course, title winners. So well done to Robbie, Manager of the Month, and also Partick Thistle. Their Manager of the Month is Ian McCall. 6 games out of 8 in April, including a 5-0 win over Falkirk to win the title. And I did actually spot a photograph of him today, Roughie, with the award. And he was wearing a 3-piece suit with a tie, a shaved, and of course his hair in a nice side shed. He looked really, really smart with the polished shoes. Nah, I'm only kidding. He just looked like a tramp. I'm sorry, I made that bit up, Roughie. He looked like Compo out of Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah, I was going to say there, did you check if he'd shorts on with that collar tie? Possibly no Partick Thistle shorts, by the way. Would have been any team.
I know.
But no, congratulations to him. He's done well, done very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All he needs is a good budget now, which he keeps reminding us.
Or a clothes allowance, one of the two. Anyway, Ali, I mean, I was talking about it just before. We've got a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on, guys. But Championship and League One have got good playoffs as well. Airdrie Cove, Morton Montrose, Dumbarton Stranraer, Edinburgh, Elgin City.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think I'll be heading down to Dumbarton tomorrow night to take that one in. But yeah, it's intriguing. I think it adds an element of tension, an element of drama to what could have been fairly stages of the season. I think it just adds a wee bit of intrigue. But I think sometimes you have to offer your sympathy. I think when you're in amongst it in that position, either for relegation or promotion, I think it's probably as much a psychological challenge as it is a physical one.
Yeah, Dougal. There's a great name, Dougal. That's a good Scots name, that Dougal, isn't it, Roughie?
Is that not somebody's dog's name?
The Magic Roundabout.
It was in the Magic Roundabout. Yeah, well done, Roughie. I knew you'd know it, Ali, because you're still watching all those kids' programs. But Dougal says, "Good morning from Vancouver." Loves the show, loves the banter. Tam, Vancouver, I'm just asking, is that one of your clubs? Could you have played for somebody out in Canada?
No, but I've been there. When I signed for Colorado Rapids, I had to go to the US Embassy in another country to get my work permit. So they sent me on a flight to Vancouver. So I stayed in Vancouver myself for 3 days. Had to go to the passport office and get all my stuff, my paperwork. So beautiful city, good lively night out as well.
I was going to say,
when you're on your stud.
I know, I was just about to say to you, Tam, and I've just got to clarify this, obviously for the fact that if I don't clarify it, then I know your wife's in the next room and she'll come in and beat the living daylights out of you. But was this you met your wife? Was this when you were single?
No, she was back in Scotland. I was with her at the time. But,
all right, okay.
I went to Vancouver. I could come
it's that Vancouver story.
Steady. Save it for the book, Tam. Anyway, we worry, Ali. We worry about Kenny McLean. Yet again, just every now and then there's a couple of, even Ryan Jack, Kenny McLean, now Lyndon Dykes as well. This is the worrying time for Steve Clarke. Players that he hopes are going to be fit. If any of them are denied to him, it limits his options.
I didn't think it looked good. When I saw the pictures on Saturday night of Kenny McLean, you think, it's so close now. And it's not just the fact that if you're struggling to make it, if you miss the last few games, it's about being match fit. And it's about if you miss 3 or 4 weeks now with injury, can you be fit enough to go in and play a part in games at the very highest level? I think Steve Clarke will be watching the last couple of games of the season through the cracks in his fingers. I think it's one of the real headaches of management is when you have a group of players and you know you're not getting control of all these things. I think it's a real fear for him because we don't really have the depth to cope with losing key players. I think Ryan Jack is a loss if he doesn't make it, and I think we can't afford to be losing any more, especially in forward areas. You look at Lyndon Dykes, and I know Mark Warburton was fairly relaxed after the game at the weekend, but I just don't think you can afford to be without too many players.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Anne Grogan's attitude to that last little story we were talking about, Roughie. She might actually get an invite to her end of season party. Anne Grogan has just said simply, what happens in Vancouver stays in Vancouver. Now that is a fantastic motto, Roughie, isn't it? That's brilliant. Yeah. I like the way Anne's thinking. You know, what happens on tour stays on.
We had a trip abroad to America, and we had a particular player who I won't mention fell madly in love with a local and refused to come back home with. That shows you how bad it could get. we're only there for 2 days.
That is brilliant. And of course, the other thing about that, I'm not going to mention anybody, but your manager handled that well. I remember that story, Roughie. Your manager handled it well, didn't he?
Yeah. I can't tell you the exact words he said. To get to the airport as quick as possible.
Well, there's a great line. Have you ever fallen in love with someone after 2 days? That's for another programme, not for this one. Tam, Aguero apologised to the Manchester City fans because he attempted a Panenka at a penalty kick and he missed it. And I'm saying to myself, I wouldn't even have bothered apologising. That man has scored the greatest goal in Manchester City's history. And if he didn't attempt the audacious, he wouldn't be the Aguero that we all know and love.
Yeah, listen, I think that was a big moment in the game. I watched it, and that the 2-0 up at half time, Man City, and I think it has repercussions for other teams. You know, Chelsea getting that 3 points was huge. I think for Liverpool, top four, even for West Ham, Leicester. So the teams round about them wouldn't have been too happy. But as you said, Aguero's achieved everything at Man City. He's a club legend, and I think if he wants to dink a penalty, he can do it. I don't think they're going to hate him for it forever.
No, I wonder what Pep Guardiola had to say about it.
He's selfish because he missed it, and he scored a goal and said, "Oh, how a genius it is." That's the reality. So always I said to the players in the penalties, take one decision. Panenka, right, left, short, whatever you want, but convinced. He was convinced to do this and miss it.
Yeah, I like his attitude. Well done, Pep. You know, listen, at the end of the day, they're going to win the league. Calm your jets, and it'll just be the irony of all ironies is he'll probably pop up in the next couple of days with a goal that wins it. Roughie, it looks as if they're going to change the Champions League venue to Wembley. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Do you not?
Oh, of course it does. You know, it's a sensible way. You know, I'm sure. You know, I don't know how many at that particular stage. Was it 22nd of May? What the allowance would be to get into Wembley, but certainly you don't want supporters travelling all over the world. You know, so early. So it seems the most reasonable thing to do. And if they do it, it'll be the first reasonable thing they've done for a long, long while. So let's wait and see until they officially say, yeah, that's where it is. But it's a wonderful stadium, and I'm sure the fans that managed to get in would rather go there than travel.
Yeah, just to get some fans in for the Champions League final would be absolutely superb. Of course, in the English Premier League, there's a few things that have been decided. One of them, West Brom relegated. Sam Allardyce loses that record of always being able to escape the drop. Not this time, West Brom gone. Up at the top end, I'm gutted, Ali. I think maybe my old mate, Davy Moyes, has lost out on the opportunity for Champions League, I know. I mean, it's just Everton 1-0. It was agony watching it. It looks as if he's blown it, Ali.
Even so, I think it's still been a remarkable turnaround from where they were when he went in and where they are now. I appreciate what you're saying. It looked on the cards for a point there, and to come so close and then be pipped in the final stages, I think there will be disappointment. But I don't think it should detract from the overall job that he's done at West Ham. I think it's been quite spectacular. And I think if you look back a few years ago and he was being linked with the Celtic job, and few people were questioning whether or not he was still there or whether or not he was kind of past it. And I think now you would say he surpassed all those kind of job offers. He would be out of Celtic's league now, just given the job and the thing he's done, what he's done with West Ham this season.
Yeah, and another ex-Celtic manager is close to getting his side into the top 4 places in the English Premier League. And I'm talking, of course, about Leicester City's Brendan Rodgers. They get scalped by Newcastle. I don't think anybody would have put money on that happening, but they're still in with a chance to finish in the top 4, as Brendan rightfully points out.
We've got to play the Europa League finalists and the Champions League finalists in 2 of our last 3 league games. So that shows you how these players have done to be up there competing and fighting. So, but we're very close to achieving what it is we want. But we know we have to really fight, John, and of course, now we've made it difficult for ourselves. And that's the reality.
It's a tough finish for Leicester. Will they do it? Only time will tell. Tam, I've just had a word coming out from Serie A, and basically it's Juventus, the Italian Football Federation President Gabriella Gravina has said that if Juventus still are pushing with Real Madrid and Barcelona for the European Super League, then they will not be allowed to play in Serie A next season. So the threat is there for them.
Oh, that's incredible. I thought you were going to say they wouldn't be able to play in the Champions League, but they get smashed last night. They might not even get in the Champions League in Italy. They get pumped at AC Milan. So, no, I think the federations are now stepping down on these clubs and saying, listen, if you step out of line, if you try and break away again, then you're going to get banned. You're not going to have a league to play in. So, I think that the threat is there now. I don't think that's going to happen now, Peter. The Super League, not in your lifetime.
No, it probably won't happen, but I'm still waiting to see what the overall punishment is, Roughie. I've heard nothing other than maybe a donation from 9 of the clubs who stepped away from it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't think they will take it much further than that. I think they want to just let it rest and let it go away, and I'll just hope it never happened. And then, see what the future brings. But, these people down the line, if they see there's money dangling at the end of this, maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever, that if they were serious enough to attempt it now, I'm sure they'll think about it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's been an action-packed show. I don't know if you're aware of this, Alison, but, there's all sorts of little promos going out there, and yours is out there, and people are now taking full advantage of our new app. I can see the smile on your face. But the new app is out there, PLZ Soccer, in the App Store and on Google Play. If you download it, basically, you won't have any of the problems that Tam has with Wi-Fi or indeed his 4G signal. All you have to do is basically download the app and you get the show live every day. You can watch it or you can hit the podcast and listen to it at your own time. It also has the ability for you to click through for our sponsors, Arnold Clark, if you want a great deal on a new and used car. And there's up-to-date breaking news stories from Scottish, English, European and world football on it. So if you get a chance, download the app, PLZ Soccer. It's in the App Store and on Google Play as well. And it's well worth getting a hold of it. And we will keep you up to date with all the stories. And of course, you'll be able to get all our unique video content too. So well worth it. Good day today. Good to have a wee chat. We will hold on and see if Tam will tell us the Vancouver story before the end of the season, which is only 4 or 5 days away. We'll try and get it out of him. Look at Ali with a wry smile on her face, wondering, will I be told the Vancouver story? Anyway, apart from anything else, great to... Thanks, Ali. Hope not. There you are. Custard pie, Tam doesn't want to know. Anyway, apart from anything else, thank you very much to each and every one of you. We really do appreciate your support, and your support through this season on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter has been magnificent. Not only have we got more than a few shows still to go, but we've got some really special one-to-ones coming up for you to enjoy throughout the summer as well. From Roughie, Alison, Tam and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit